why should you? Why should you have to compromise a constitutional right to pay your bills? We are the Arms Attorneys. Today, we're coming to you with good news for once. We have a wonderful bill that was introduced February 9th of 2023 on the federal level that I think is worth talking about. And if you are pro Second Amendment, worth contacting your congressman about jumping on board as a sponsor. We'll tell you who's on board already and what it's about. But before we get started, show your support for the Second Amendment by hitting the like button.
And today we're talking about it's HR 962. The author is Claudia Tenney. She's out of the 24th District, out of the state of New York.
Finally, something good coming out of lawmakers in New York, am I right?
Seriously. And what this does effectively, we're looking at gun owners and how they're affected in bankruptcy. And you might be thinking, that doesn't sound very sexy. This is kind of important. And we were talking about this off camera, and this is one of those deals where it's just about normalizing the Second Amendment.
Yes, we have to. No one thinks twice when it comes to something about, preserving your religious liberty. We have to normalize the Second Amendment and your right to keep and bear arms as being as important as your right to free speech, your right to practice your own religion. All of these things, there is no one better than the other, right? They all stand equally. And to do that, we have to build in little protections everywhere, right?
Exactly right. And so what this bill effectively does is it exempts $3,000 worth of firearms-related property from bankruptcy proceedings. Now, I know there's probably some people snoozing in the audience, but this is why it's important, because we cannot rely on the courts to shoot a nuke from orbit every year and, dismantle infringements on the Second Amendment. This is kind of how the gun grabbers play it. They play in games of inches, planned out over decades. We need to kind of adopt that mindset as well.
Absolutely. And bear in mind that when the Supreme Court shot the New York State Pistol and Rifle Association nuke last year, what did that practically do for us in the immediate, Richard? It's going to do great things.
Yes.
In the next 5 to 7 years.
Yeah.
In the immediate, it got us worse laws.
Yeah, it looks a lot like the post-civil rights era type laws where you have all these jurisdictions going haywire, trying to find workarounds, trying to skirt the law, trying to not, make their even their local courts abide by the Supreme Court ruling, finding distinctions. And we believe long-term they are going to be unsuccessful. But in the meantime,
Correct.
It's a huge headache.
Yes, and counteract it. Don't wait for the Supreme Court and don't wait for this to all play out. Counteract it now with our own good laws. That's part of how we fight this fight.
Yeah.
So, let's talk a little bit more about bankruptcy, why this makes sense. There are other things that are preserved from having to liquidate to pay your debtors when you file for bankruptcy. Things like your primary residence, your car, clothing, household appliances. Actually, even musical instruments, apparently, which I did not realize until looking this up.
Gotta go play on the subway, make a living.
Hey, do what you got to do. But it really, when you think about it, and this is, kudos to Representative Tenney, this is not something I would have ever thought about before now. But
I try not to think about bankruptcy.
Yeah, I know, for real. But, why should you? Why should you have to compromise a constitutional right to pay your bills? No one's asking you to give up religious garb, right?
Yeah.
To pay your bills, right?
Renounce your God so that you can pay for your credit card debt. No,
absolutely.
We don't do that.
So, but this is one of those things I think it was important to talk about because it flies under the radar, stuff like this.
Yeah.
It's important. It's good. It's tiny baby steps that we need. But like you said, they aren't super sexy.
No. But I think we go back to our, one of the most fundamental rights that we have is the right of self-preservation. How do we, express our right of self-preservation? It's having the tools to actually be able to enforce that right, a la restrain government from infringing on our right to keep and bear arms, protect ourselves. And so it makes a whole heck of a lot of sense.
Absolutely, it does.
And I think this is another important lesson for the community. We have a bad tendency or bad habit of calling out just the bad and focusing on the bad instead of focusing on when people do a really good job, move the ball forward. This moves the ball forward.
Gun people can be all stick and no carrot. It's really true.
Yes, it is.
But, get to hand out a carrot every once in a while. This is a carrot moment.
It's important to recognize those folks who are sticking their neck out, making these small gains for us, especially, like I said, we're not going to have these gigantic wins every time. Some of the folks working on this, I hope I pronounce it right. Paul Gosar out of Arizona, that's in District 9. My congressman,
My
Randy.
congressman.
Yeah, Randy
Yeah.
Weber, Texas 14. Really appreciate that, Randy. And Doug Lamborn, he's out of the 5th District in Colorado. If those are your representatives, let them know, hey, man, we're watching you. We really appreciate this. We really appreciate your support for the Second Amendment. If you did hear your representative's name, which is
A lot of you.
there's a lot of you, reach out to your representatives. Let them know, hey, this is something I'm interested in. I'd like you to sign on as a co-sponsor, as an author. Get their support behind this kind of stuff, because it really does make a big difference.
And it's early. This
Yes.
has just been filed a couple days ago. It's so young that the text of the bill and like the official summary aren't even available on Congress's website yet. So now is the time. Get the ball moving, get it rolling, get some momentum. It's very possibly one of those things that could be added into a big compromise bill and actually signed into law, because it's not that it seems kind of inoffensive, right? But again, the protection that we need, little things like this, it builds.
Yeah, but we'll have a link to the bill. We'll have a link to how to find your representative. And we hope you enjoyed this discussion. If you did, consider subscribing, hitting that like button, and help us fight the anti-2A algorithm by sharing this video.
And always question and comment for us below. Until next time, we're the Armed Attorneys.
I'll be fine.
Yeah.